Hi guys, I'm PUTSY and welcome to another weekly vlog. And I'm hoping this week will be a little bit more productive than last week. I was having still a lot of problem with my neck and shoulder. It's quite annoying. It's affecting my sleep, my physical ability to sit on a desk, edit videos and all of that. But I'm trying to be positive and hopefully it will get a bit better this week. I had a very nice morning walk, just trying to move my body, soaking in a lot of morning sunlight and breathing in lots and lots of oxygen and fresh air as much as I possibly could, and I'm already feeling a little bit better, at least mentally. I feel like I'm ready to tackle the week. And talking about my last week's vlogs, I was planning on finishing 3 books, but I only ended up like reading 1.25 books. Starting to read The Ember in the Ashes series, and I'm hoping I can finish the whole entire series at least by July. Currently I'm on page 100 exactly. So this is the first book that I'm going to read in this week's vlog, and since by the time I'm filming this it's still June, technically it's still Pride month, I think the last book that I will try to read in this week's vlog is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I think there's some LGBTQ love in this, or at least I think so if I'm not mistaken. I've heard nothing but great things about it. It's quite emotional or sad at some point too. I've watched a lot of reviews and reading vlog about this book. It just makes me even more excited. This is going to be my very first book from Taylor Jenkins Reid. If you by any chance watch this video, I think you probably have heard about this one, but to kind of summarize it, this is about obviously Evelyn Hugo, quite a well-known Hollywood icon. She's also known for her relationships, all the 7 husbands of hers, and she finally ready to tell her truth, her side of the story. And Evelyn asked this particular journalist, and that's the only thing I know about it really, besides the fact that it's going to be amazing and quite emotional, and that's kind of right up my alley, and I'm hoping I will love this book as much as everyone else does. I continue on reading this one. So now I'm already on page 134. It's starting to get a bit more exciting than before. So I'm excited to read what's going to happen next. But this morning I made a choice that were quite unlike me actually. I'm the type of person who can only read one book at a time because I really want to focus on the story and finish it before I move on to another one. I've seen a lot of people, at least a lot of booktuber and a lot of people who read like 10 books or 15 books even a month is usually reading multiple books all at once. So maybe that's the key, I don't know. So I really want to try that. I don't know if I can do that, but the more I'm thinking about it, the more I convinced myself that I think I can probably do that, because I've been kind of doing that for TV series. Back then when we don't have Netflix, all we did was basically watching multiple different TV series all at once while waiting for an episode to come out as they aired once a week. And I usually watch like at least 5 to 10 different TV shows all at once. So if I can do that with TV series, I think I can do that with books too. It's definitely possible. So I was thinking maybe I should try that, see if I like it or not. So I finally took the plunge and decided to immediately read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And I think I will reading this in the morning and read An Ember in the Ashes at night before I go to bed. I think that's a better way to go around it. And I think I like it. Yeah, I think it's a good choice for me to do at least 2 books at once. I don't think I can read like 3 or 4 books simultaneously. And now I'm currently on page 62 already in this book because I find it really easy and fast to read. And that's because of the fact that the book is very interesting and really good already. Evelyn Hugo as a character is very fascinating, and also the chapters in it are not very long. And I'm about to move on to the second husband, which is Don Adler. Some people have been saying if you like this book, you will probably like City of Girls. I can already see the similarities. It has a similar vibe, feeling, mood, and atmosphere. I mean, obviously both of these stories happened during the 50s around that time. And Evelyn Hugo and Vivian as main character both have a very similar characteristics. They're both living their life kind of against the odds, against what women are supposed to act, especially during the 50s. They both know what they want and they go for it, and they're both kind of ambitious and bold, which I really admire from both of them. Obviously they're not faultless, especially Evelyn Hugo. If she made all those decisions now in today's society, I don't think it will sit well with a lot of people. I understand why she did all the things she did. It was necessary for her to do that during that period of time. And I'm just excited to read more about Evelyn Hugo's story, especially since I know going into the middle towards the end of the book, I think it will get even more emotional and sad. A lot of my favorite booktubers said they cried. So yeah, I'm excited for my heart and my emotion to be punched by this book. Hi, it's Wednesday and yes, I finally getting ready and not looking like I was just getting out of bed because I'm going to the grocery store and I'm super excited because that means I will also go to the bookstore because it's right besides the grocery store, so I have reasons to go. Besides, I also have a package, a book order that I need to pick up in that bookstore, and I just wear a very simple shirt and jeans and a very simple makeup. I just want to be super comfortable and chill. But before I go to the bookstore, I will give you a little bit update on my reading so far. So first, Ember in the Ashes. I continued reading this last night and now I'm on page 150, and now we already get to the part where we get to see and know a lot more about the slave and how they are treated within the empire. And I'm so angry of how cruel and bad they were treated, wrong on so many levels. They really were treated even lower than an animal. The fact that this thing actually happened in our own history, how can people do these things to fellow human beings is, I don't understand at all. But the fact that Laya is willing to become a slave of someone who are famously one of the most cold-hearted, cruel human being in order to save her brother is very admiring. She is so brave while doing so. She keeps comparing herself to her mother. She doesn't think highly of herself at all. She doesn't think she's brave enough. She doesn't see herself as someone who are fearless. But doing this, she's not selfish whatsoever. She's putting her brother's safety first while putting herself in a very dangerous situation. And I hope moving further into the stories, she's able to see that. I'm excited to see her grow more into her own and realize her own power. And she finally have a mini encounter with Elias, and I'm so glad that he's actually unlike any other soldier. I mean, we've kind of known that, but to actually see it happening the way he treated Laya, not treating her as a slave but as a fellow human being, is very heartwarming. And I hope that he can actually make a change in his own world, and I'm excited to see what's going to become of this relationship between Laya and Elias. And The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I love this book already. This has a great potential to be another 5 stars for me and to become one of my favorite book I've read in 2021. I haven't come to the part where it gets very emotional yet, so I'm scared still, but I'm now currently on page 106, chapter 17. I'm already on husband number 2. Evelyn is finally start to become a household name. She gets a lot of praise, but at the same time she already start to get few bad rumors, stories written about her. People start to poke in her personal life. What happened with the second husband is not okay whatsoever, but it's also very real because a lot of people who get into that kind of situation, that kind of relationship, will sometimes in the moment made up all the stories to survive, to kind of excuse the partner's behavior. But I hope she will realize that it's not okay whatsoever and she will get out of this relationship soon. I mean, obviously she will. And the more I read into the stories, the more I can see where the similarities to the City of Girls are. But I also feel like it feels kind of similar to the Netflix series that I've watched last year. I don't remember what it's called, but I will pop the title here. Darren Criss was in it, and it was directed by Ryan Murphy. I think it was about old Hollywood star. They were trying to make a movies while trying to push boundaries, make a change in the industry, try to be more inclusive for black people, for people of color, and also for queer people. It has a very similar feeling, like the setting obviously is very much the same, the time period is the same. So while I read this book, I kept comparing it to that series and imagine Evelyn to exist in that similar world. Hopefully maybe one day see this book become a TV series, because I think it will be amazing, especially if it's directed in a very that kind of cinematic look. I think it will be amazing. Hopefully it will happen. But yeah, I'm so excited to continue on reading this book. I'm just going to stop talking and now let's go to the grocery store. You left me, me. You left me. You're big, you're big, you left me, you left me. You left me, me. You left me. You're big, you're big, you left me, you left me. You left me, me. You left me. You're big, you left me, you left me. You left me, me. You left me. You're big, you left me, you left me. You left me, me. You left me. You're big, you left me, you left me. You left me, me. You left me. You're big, you left me, you left me. You left me, me. You left me. You're big, you left me, you left me. You left me, me. You left me. You're big, you left me, you left me. You left me, me. You left me. You're big, you left me, you left me. You left me, me. You left me. You're big, you left me, you left me. You left me, me. You left me. You're big, you left me, you left me. You left me, me. You left me. You're big,
I don't think about the memories I've been too focused on my energy, serenity.
It's Friday, which means I didn't give you any update yesterday. Really not in the mood to film anything. I mean, there wasn't much interesting thing I did yesterday anyway, but it was such a great reading day for me. I think in total I read like 258 pages between these two books, which was kind of a record for me, and I think it was because of a couple different reasons. The first one being, obviously these two books are just so much fun to read, and they're both also quite different, exciting for a very different reason, so it always keeps me engaged. Second, I think because of the state I was in the books, I was right in the middle of these two books, so things are getting really exciting, and I cannot wait to know more about the story, so I couldn't put it down, and I was just in such a great mood for reading. And also, I think the final reason I got quite an epiphany yesterday. I don't know if that was me being dramatic, but I think I finally understand why people love reading multiple books all at once, and it was such a great revelation. And now that I know how good it was for me, I think I will keep doing it from now on, especially since I kind of schedule my read between these two books. I read Evelyn, Hugo in the morning, and I read Amber in the Ashes at night. So by the time I finished this book, I was interested to get into Amber in the Ashes, and then once I finished Amber in the Ashes, I couldn't wait any longer to get back into this book again. Changing between these two books helps my interest intact, and it also kind of pushes me to read more, because I don't want to just read 5 pages of each book a day, so at least I need to read like 1 or 2 chapters. But by the time I read 2 chapters, I just want to read more, and so I read more than 2 chapters. So I ended up reading a lot more pages. And in terms of my progress for each book, for Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I now have reached page 240 and I have around a quarter of this book left, and I just getting into the story of the fifth husband, which is one of my absolute favorite character in the book, and I'm kind of scared. I have to brace myself for a roller coaster of emotion now, because from what I've heard, this is the start and the chapter where it gets really sad, and it's quite downhill in terms of emotion from now on. Don't know how to handle that information, because even the chapter before this has already gotten me so emotional, especially right around between the third and fourth husband. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. And to know that that wasn't even the most emotional part of the book is quite scary. So I think the last time I spoke to you, I was in the second husband story, which was Don Adler, and wow, was he such a jerk. Don was a very huge name, even though Evelyn was a huge name in Hollywood, but Don was like a Hollywood royalty. His parents were famous in Hollywood at their time. Don was also kind of like a child actor as well. The fact that he was able to silence Evelyn about all the things that happened in their marriage, because Don has more power and money over Evelyn. But it was also kind of the reality of the world. It happened. People like that exist in real life, and I don't know why people can go around abusing their power just so that they can do whatever they want. It's wrong, and it makes me really angry. But I'm also glad to see that Evelyn, being Evelyn, was able to bounce back, take control of her life, and rise again. I'm amazed at how Evelyn was able to handle all of that. And then the third husband, gullible Mick Riva, he is such an but he's not as bad. It's a different kind of bad compared to Don Adler. He's just so full of himself, and it borderline kind of funny. He thinks so highly of himself to the point of his like thinking that the world revolves around him. It also makes him blind to the power that other people has. Like Evelyn, he was thinking that he can use his charm and his power and his fame to trick Evelyn so that he can get Evelyn, but instead, because he was so full of himself, he didn't realize that he was actually the one getting played by Evelyn, and he walked right into Evelyn's trap, but he didn't even notice any of it. And that part made this whole marriage thing with him so much funnier, just how gullible he is. But the event that follows was the part that it started to get emotional and quite heartbreaking. It's obvious that Evelyn only thinks of herself and her career, sometimes more than the people around her. Sometimes it blinded her. But the fourth husband is one of the husbands that I actually quite like, because as much as he from the outside looks just like any other typical Hollywood star, he's actually one of the nicest and respectful out of most of them, at least. And by the way, at this point, I'm just so convinced that Evelyn is such a Slytherin. She's ambitious, she's cunning, and she also loves emerald green. Like, she's the most Slytherin character I've read in a book so far. And the fact that she knows when she's doing something bad, she admitted it and she owned it with full confidence. Not that it makes anything that Evelyn did better. She's not a hypocrite, and I quite like that about her, even though I don't always agree with the things she did. She is such a fascinating character. And as for these books, I'm now on page 330, and I think I have around 100 to 120 pages left. I really like this book. I don't know exactly what I was getting into, even though I had high hopes for it. I just going into it kind of blindly, not really knowing the full scope of the story. I haven't even read the back of this. Glad I finally picked this one up, because it was such an exhilarating story. But it's also just amazing to see such a strong powerful POC lead character in a fantasy book like Laya, and she let her love for her brother strengthen her, and it's such a beautiful story to read. And I love seeing the complexity of each characters and also the side character mixed between the complexity of the world. And I also love the entire world building in this one. I can see every single thing quite clear in my head, and Sabata here has her own way to make the world feels intricate but also very easy to understand for some reason. But yeah, I'm just going to read Evelyn Hugo next and then have my lunch, and I think I'm just going to spend the rest of the day editing videos and read some more. Wow, 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 and wow is the only word I can think of right now. I don't know what else to say. Okay, I will try to gather my thoughts. Finally finished this book, and the ending is both heartbreaking, heartwarming. Every emotion is pouring all into one place, mixed together, and it was very overwhelming. And I'm sad that it happened that way, but I was also very much okay with it, and I felt satisfied with how it ends. It's such a bittersweet ending. It was truly a phenomenal book. I truly think this book deserves all the praise that it received. I can confidently give this book 10 stars out of 5 stars. It is that amazing. It really is one of the best books I've read in my entire life. Not that I have read that many books compared to a lot of other people. I honestly believe even years from now, I will still think highly of this book. Never once I felt while reading this book any kind of boredom whatsoever. Every single pages was exciting, incredible, complex, amazing. It really was such a roller coaster ride reading this book. And still, even after reading this book, I feel both understand who Evelyn Hugo is, but also feel like Evelyn Hugo is such a myth because I don't understand her whatsoever. And I think that's the very core who Evelyn Hugo is essentially. You can't put her in a box. She's both good and bad all at once, safe and danger all at once, complex and simple all at once, and every single characters that were presented in this book has such depth in it. Truly understand why a lot of people who have read this book immediately put Taylor Jenkins Reid as one of their favorite author, because she also instantly become one of my favorite author. I cannot wait to read her other books, especially Daisy Jones and Six, and also her latest books that just released this June, I believe. It was called Malibu Rising, which I think telling a story about the kids of one of the husbands of Evelyn Hugo, the singer, I believe, which will be exciting to read because that's the husband I said was quite stupidly funny. And yeah, it is one of my absolute favorite book ever. ever. And like I said, it's an easy 5-star for me. If I can, I will give this 10 out of 5 stars. So yeah.